Hey, welcome to this episode of the IT Experience podcast. Today we are continuing on the XLA contract topics, and the topic of today is penalties versus rewards. But again, before we start into the topic, I'd like to mention that we have the first ever ITXM summit happening on the January 31st. That's Wednesday, and it's going to be at 11 CET time. Come and learn about how to achieve outcomes with IT experience management with some of our customers. You will hear from Osvaldo Santos from Nestle, Chris Bracey from Campari Group, and then of course Neil Keating from Bright Horse, who has been writing this actual XLA contract white paper with you, Sami.
Yeah.
But then we can go into the topic of today, which is really the XLA contract, the penalties and rewards. But I think we agree that what if we first go through like the SLA side of it, because that's probably where these penalties and rewards come from. That's the normal way. And I think we can start with this slide from our customers asking, in your service desk agreement, do you have penalties or rewards linked to SLAs and KPIs? And we did this in 2020, and now we also did it in 2023. So do you want to, Sami, explain a little bit what has changed and what did we learn from this?
Yeah, so this has been something we expected to see in the results, but maybe the change was even bigger than I expected. So in 2020, neither of these were used by only 9%, so turning it around 81%, so organizations, 91% had other either sanctions, rewards, or both in there.
Yeah.
But now in 23, penalties, rewards were missing from 38% of cases, so that is quite a huge, 4 times as much as it was before.
Yeah.
So I think when people have learned and started to trust that collaboration with the vendor, so you have together focused on the experience data, you don't need this. And you start to understand that the traditional SLAs are sometimes conflicting or forcing the provider to do things that are even harming the experience.
Yeah.
So I'm also really happy to see this. I said I'm not surprised, but also I'm really happy that this has been happening.
True.
And the penalties were used by 57%, it's now 31%. Rewards used by 4, now 10%, so that has been growing a bit. And both has changed to 30%, this 21%. But the big change here is that many organizations have dropped out all of these kind of sanctions or rewards in SLA.
Yeah.
And this is relevant now when we go towards the XLAs, because this might be conflicting. So you cannot just do XLA decision of what you have in agreement. You have to do a decision of with the SLA as well.
Yeah.
So I'm totally okay of you following these and using them because you need that understanding, but seen too many times that these are really conflicting and making it hard to improve experiences if you have these.
But we know that it's still a reality that sometimes you have to have these, so they are kind of there's a reason that they are still there, and then you kind of can't totally get rid of it. Then what would you say on that?
Yeah, so take another think, don't do it. But if you have to do it, then look at the white paper and there you will find a structure. And if I now try to kind of simplify it for this podcast, the structure there is that when you are getting better with your XLAs, so the experience is getting better, even though you wouldn't be meeting any SLA targets, you wouldn't have any sanctions or penalties.
Yeah.
So if experience is getting better, nothing else matters. And then if it's not getting better, then you have to follow the SLAs.
Yeah.
But that's kind of that's making it possible for your vendor to do right decisions or your partners in service desk. And that's the main point. But there is a bit more complicated structure because in agreements it needs to be quite detailed how it works.
Yeah.
But check the paper for that. Really, really hard now to explain it in a way that
And there's also this webinar that you did with Niall from Bright Horse, and I think in that you also went deeper. And the link to that webinar is also on that white paper page, which you find here in the show notes. But then what if we move towards the XLAs? So the penalties and rewards in XLAs, what would you
say
to that?
I think this episode is I'm saying no to everything. But yeah, we are not really seeing points of having none of them, even for XLAs. There are some things in reward area that you can do. But if you think about XLAs as a target number in your agreement, then you would have the penalties.
Yeah.
That is something that you just set the what is enough level. Kind of you can do that. And if you set it like, because the first steps when you start to do experience management, your score will move quite fast to totally new level. But if you start to then have a penalties on that level, it kind of makes no sense. Because why you would do this is that you make sure that your provider delivers minimum delivery.
Yeah.
It is controlling of your provider. It's not going to boost your end result. It's even giving them like, okay, this is okay level. No, it's not okay level. So don't do that because you cannot like update it all the time. Rewards, we have seen a couple of models that have worked. The one that I would mostly recommend, or recommend even more, is the model that it's not money reward, but it's an extension of your agreement. So if your provider has been able in the first 3 years of the agreement, able to increase all the time, increasing your experience of end users, it's kind of auto-renewal for 1 extra year.
Yeah.
Then they know for that whole time, a long time period, that they have a motivation to increase the happiness. We have also seen there was one model by a customer that did it in a way that they had a target number, but there was levels on top of it. And the provider had an option that if they want to increase the level where they should be, they would get more money per ticket. But then there would be a higher minimum target. Kind of they had penalties and rewards there, but it was agreed beforehand. And the challenge with that one is that it's really hard to agree those levels and understand the whole thing in the beginning. So in the white paper we are talking about it. If you do this, do them after you and your provider are used to XLAs.
Yeah.
You understand them, you have stabilized maybe the level that you know that, okay, we have been now over 80 for 1 year. There are some changes coming, new employees and so on. There will be changes in our own environment. Yeah, maybe then you can start to talk about this because you know what is normal.
True.
But if you haven't done experience management, you haven't measured the experience in the right way, don't try to guess that before really doing it.
Yeah. But basically you're summarizing that this is a little bit of waste of time. Like you put a lot of effort, you're kind of having even a little bit hard conversations with your providers. Your providers try to make them as low as possible so that they wouldn't be hit by the sanctions. You try to understand what it could be and then you put something on it and it just directs wrong behavior.
It does, and not always when you're talking about rewards and penalties, you're talking about one number.
Yeah.
And in the early episode when we talk about this, how to do this in the agreements for options, we talk about the risky thing is that if you have only one number there, you prioritize things differently. Now in the next 6 months, it is much more important for us that these employees in that area where we have business challenges, their experience is great.
Yeah.
Then your provider say, hey, it's only a few hundred people there and we are going to meet our targets. And that people who we should be prioritizing, we are not really going to do it because we need to focus on the majority of the end users because then the overall score is going to be where it needs to be in their agreement. So the agreement start to run your business because you are forcing your provider to do something.
Yeah.
So it's updating the target numbers, understand the business situation all the time. You make your life too hard with having penalties and rewards.
Yeah.
But as I said, reality, sometimes your procurement, you might need to do something, but try to do it in a most human way also for your provider because this is collaboration.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you want to learn more, you can go and again on our website and read the whole paper. Like I said, also maybe go and listen to the webinar you did with Neil.
Yeah.
But then I guess this kind of leads us to the next episode, which is actually the recommendation of how to do the XLA contract. And
it was easy episode. We must say no 4 times. So.
Exactly. But then the next episode is really like, okay, what to really do? So join us for the next episode where we go through that. Sami will explain recommendations of how to tackle the real examples. But yeah, that's how we ended this episode. So stay safe and stay happy.